What's up, guys? Today I'm going to show you how to do the Sin City stylized Star Wars look. What's up, guys? Welcome back to my channel. I am Federic. I'm a professional filmmaker with over 22 years of hands-on experience in production and VFX. And today I'm going to be walking you through how I made the Star Wars Sin City style effect using After Effects. And we're going to go step by step in this tutorial, and I'm going to show you all of the techniques that I use to create this particular effect. Now, a little bit of a disclaimer, I use two third-party plugins. One of them is free, which is Saber from videocopilot.net, and that will allow you to create the lightsabers in this particular tutorial. I've linked it below so you can download it directly. And I've also used Element 3D, which you don't have to use, but I particularly wanted to illustrate the power of 3D and After Effects and what you can do. But you can also use images, and we'll go over a little bit of that during this tutorial. All right, let's jump right into it. Okay, so first things first, I have this footage of me dressed up as a Sith Lord here with my Disney lightsaber in front of a pop-up green screen in my living room. And first things first, we need to key out this footage. So first thing we're gonna do is go ahead and go into Effect, Keying, and select Key Light 1.2. That is the plugin that we're going to be using to key out the footage. And we're going to go ahead and select the eyedropper here, and we're going to select the darkest part of the green screen. And we're going to enable the little transparency filter here to show us how we're doing. We're going to scrub through this and see how the key is looking. We still have a little bit of this shadow over here, so we're going to get rid of that by setting the result to intermediate result. And we're going to set the screen gain to about 106. Then we're going to set the screen pre-blur to 2. And we're going to go into the screen matte, and we're going to crush the white value from 100 down to about let's say 59 or so. And then we're going to raise the black value up to about, I want to say 39. Well, actually, let's keep going up. Let's set that to about 58, right? So that it's like pretty nice and even there. The next thing we're gonna do is go ahead into the shrink and the grow here, and we're gonna just shrink it 3 pixels just to kind of keep it a little even. And then we're gonna increase the softness to about 5. And that should give us a nice clean key right there. Yep, scrubbing through looks pretty good. The next thing that we're gonna do is go into Effect, and we're gonna go into Keying, and we're gonna go and select the Advanced Spill Suppressor. Now, we wanna set this to Ultra. That's gonna remove any green spill or any areas that we wanna get rid of the key so that we have a nice, clean key. The next thing we're gonna need to do is we're gonna have to pre-compose this layer, because we're gonna be adding some color effects to it to create the Sin City style look. So first things first, we're gonna right-click it and hit pre-compose. We're gonna move all attributes into the new composition and call this Sith Lord. And then we're gonna hit OK. And then we're going to go into Effect, Color Correction, and we're gonna go find Lumetri Color. And the first thing we're gonna do is sort of up the contrast a little bit. And we're going to drop the saturation down to 0 so that we have a black and white image. And that's looking really good. So the next thing that we're gonna do is add a background so that we can see our transparency and see how everything is looking. So I have this image over here of these clouds that I brought in. We're gonna go ahead and drop that into the comp underneath the Sith Lord, and now we have this sort of cloudy atmosphere over here. We're gonna do the same thing to the cloud layer that we did to our top layer, which is desaturate it and up the contrast. So again, we're gonna go into Effect, Color Correction, go down to Lumetri Color, select that. We're going to desaturate the image, and we're going to up the contrast quite a bit. We're also going to bring down the exposure a little bit so that we can make it look a little bit more like nighttime. And that should give us a good thing. We want to make sure that the Sith Lord is a little bit separated from the background. Now, given that we have this right there, it's looking pretty darn good. The next thing that we're going to want to do is add the rainfall that I added into the original shot to create that sort of Sin City style look. And we're going to do that by going to Layer, going New, creating a new solid. We're going to make it comp size so that it matches the composition that we have, and we're going to hit OK. And then we're going to go into Effect, Simulation, Rainfall. And we're going to select that. And we're going to up the opacity to 100% so we can see what's going on. We're also going to set the transfer mode of the rain to screen. So we go into the mode over here and set that to screen. And now we can sort of see this rain that's falling in the shot. Now, if we were going to render this out and hit 0, you can sort of see that it falls kind of badly right there. We want to make sure we make some tweaks to this to make sure the rain looks pristine. So first things first, we're going to add a little bit of wind direction so that we can sort of get it to the side. We're also going to decrease the number of drops that we see because we don't want it to be super heavy rain. We want it to have a sort of more sparse effect. The other thing is we're going to drop the opacity back down to 50% so that it looks more realistic. And then we're going to Control D to duplicate the black solid layer and bring it underneath the Sith Lord layer so that we have a background rain. So we're going to call this top layer, and you rename layers by hitting Enter. You call this top layer foreground rain. And we call this one background rain. Excuse me. Right? And now we have the rain. We also want to offset the background rain so that it doesn't match up exactly with the foreground rain. And we do this by just shifting the layer down and extending it so that they are on different times. And we're going to make a couple more tweaks on this one. We'll maybe add just a little bit more wind on the background and then increase the size of the drops and maybe just, you know, add a couple more there in the background. And now if you hit 0, you should have a nice little side rain effect that sort of adds to the elements. Now, we could do a couple more things to make this look a little bit more realistic. We can go into Effect, Blur and Sharpen, and go to Camera Lens Blur. That's going to simulate a bit of a camera lens blur. We're going to set this to about 3. And then you have like this sort of out of focus foreground rain that just gives it a little bit more depth to the shot. All right, now for the cool part, let's add some lightsabers. So we're going to go ahead and hit layer. We're going to select a new solid. We're going to call this Lightsaber and hit OK. And we're going to set that underneath the foreground rain layer. Then we're going to just shut off the foreground rain layer for now, just so that it doesn't distract us. And then we're going to go into Effect, Video Copilot, and we're going to go into Saber. If you've gone ahead and downloaded the Saber plugin, make sure you install it and then restart After Effects before you continue to make sure that there aren't any weird files or corruptions. Okay, so now that we have our Saber plugin, we're going to go ahead and try a more Sith-like approach to the lightsaber, which means I want it to have a slight distortion and a bit of unstable wavelength to it. So what we're going to do is going to go ahead and select the preset and set that to hardcore so that there's a little bit of sort of weird distortion. We're also going to go into the distortion and go into the core distortion and just bring the distortion amount down to about 5 so that it's not so prevalent, maybe about 4. So that it's not so strong, but it sort of adds this sort of smoky atmosphere to it. We want the lightsaber to look like it's blending in with the environment and that the rain is somewhat interacting with the lightsaber and make it look like it's part of the scene. Then we're going to go ahead and set the color to red, but you can set it to whatever color you want your Sith Lord to have. And then we're going to go into the render settings and go ahead and set the composite settings to transparent. And now we have a lightsaber that's going to be into the scene. We're going to select the core start and just collect an area and just select the beginning of the lightsaber there. And then we're going to hit the core end and set it to the back over here. And we're going to go to the head at the beginning of the animation or beginning of the shot, make sure that these line up. And then we're going to go ahead and set the transfer mode for the lightsaber to screen as well. And that's going to add a little bit more of a realistic blend to the shot. Now, this is looking pretty good as it is, but we're going to have to animate the lightsaber move to match the movement that I have. Now, granted, I'm standing pretty still, but there's a moment where you do see the lightsaber sort of overlap because I am sort of moving my wrist a little bit. So we're going to have to match that movement with the Saber plugin. So what we're going to do is set a keyframe at the core start and core end, and we're just going to move forwards in time a little bit. And when we start to see the lightsaber in real life move, we're just going to adjust our lightsaber to match the movement. Just sort of match it there. All right, that's looking pretty good. And now we should be able to sort of pre-render this and check it out. And that's looking pretty awesome. Let's go ahead and turn on our foreground rain too. All right, so we're gonna wanna do one last thing to make sure that we make the lightsaber look as realistic as possible. Again, we want it to make sure that it's blending in with that environment. And we're gonna add a basic flicker to the lightsaber. Just give it a little bit more sort of unstable reaction to the rain. And what we're gonna do is go ahead into the flicker settings over here, and we're gonna go ahead and add the intensity up to about 40, and we're gonna increase the flicker speed to about 28 or so. And we're gonna go ahead and render preview that and see how that looks. And that's adding a little bit more flicker there that's making the effect look much, much better. The next thing I want to do is add some lightning to it because I want to create this sort of moody atmosphere that like is reflective of Sin City. So again, we're going to do that by going into Layer, New, Solid, and we're going to call this Lightning. And we're going to go ahead and drop that right behind the Sith Lord there. What we're going to do is go into Effect, Generate, and go into Advanced Lightning. And that's going to give us like sort of this bolt over here. And we're just going to set it like off to the side. We're going to make the bolt into a strike instead of a direction. That way we have a little bit more control of where we want to set the lightning bolt. And so we're going to go ahead and move a couple frames forward into the shot. We're going to go ahead and select the direction and put it up and also move the origin. And we're going to go ahead and mark a keyframe for both of these. And then we're going to go ahead and move a couple frames forward, maybe like 1 or 2, and set the strike down. Move 2 more frames, and then sort of move the strike down. And then we're going to go 1 more frame and wipe it off the screen. So that way it sort of just appears, and you know, we never see it again. So it just sort of bam, strikes right there. And now we're going to go into the core settings. Much like the lightsaber, we're going to keep the core as it is, but we're just going to increase the radius just a bit more to make the lightning bolt a little bit bigger. And then we're going to go into the glow settings, and we're going to change the color to white because this is a black and white setting. So now we have sort of this lightning strike that is, yeah, it's looking pretty good. But we want to add the residual light that would come from the lightning bolt. So what we want to do is select all of our layers, right click, pre-compose, call this Sith Comp, move all the attributes into the new composition and hit OK. And then we're going to go ahead and duplicate it. And when we see the lightning flash come up, we're going to set an opacity keyframe, just the frame before the lightning strike. So we'll select T for opacity and select the keyframe and mark that down to 0. And then we're going to move forwards 1 frame, and we're going to bring the brightness all the way up. And we're going to set the transfer mode of that layer to add. And then we're going to go 1 frame forward and bring it down to 0, 1 frame forward, bring it back up to 100, 1 frame forward, bring it back down to 0, and 1 frame forward and bring it back up to 100. And lastly, 1 more frame and bring it back down to 0 to create sort of this flicker effect that will flash when the lightning hits. And now you have a more realistic sort of flash setting that would match the lightning light. If you guys have an interest in knowing how to create more visual effects or just learn After Effects in general, I do have a VFX course that I offer that will teach you everything you need to know about After Effects step by step so that you can master the foundational skills to create visual effects just like this and beyond. And I'm offering a special discount code to anybody who watches this video. You can go ahead and type in NYVFX upon checkout and you'll get 15% off the course. Now, I've also listed the link in the description as well as the discount code for you guys to find. But if you guys have an interest in it, I really suggest you guys take the course because it can be a game changer in elevating your content so that you guys can create some amazing creations of your own. Okay, now we're gonna add the icing on the cake. You guys don't have to necessarily do this step in order to achieve the effect. You can do this with images as well, but I'm gonna take that step forward and show you what I did with Element 3D. So we're gonna go ahead and double click and go back into our original comp. And we're gonna go ahead and create a layer, new, solid. We're gonna call this 3D background. And we're gonna drop this right behind all of the rain, but on top of our cloud layer. And then we're gonna go to Effect, Video Copilot, Element. If you have the Element 3D program, please go ahead and use it. If you don't, check it out. It's pretty worthwhile. It's awesome. You can do a lot with it. It's pretty much a game changer for After Effects. All right, and then we're gonna go into Scene Setup. And we're just going to create sort of this basic 3D scene. Now, I've bought some packs with my Element 3D. A couple of them are just these sort of random parts called Motion Design 2. These are packs that you can buy in addition to Element 3D to incorporate it into the plugin. Again, you guys don't have to do this, but this is some fun thing that I use. So I'm just going to go ahead and create sort of like this basic 3D screen. 3D scene. We're just going to rotate this. And then add sort of this, you know, other building type thing. I'm going to duplicate that and then just kind of add a secondary one there and then duplicate it again and then just send it to back. We're going to send this one to the back there and, you know, maybe move that one slightly back off to the edge over here like that. That should be enough. And then we're going to we're going to go ahead and change the environment setting. And we're just going to set that to something that's got a little bit more contrast, which will be that right there. And then hit OK. And then we're going to hit OK. And now we're going to have this sort of Element 3D background element player here. We're going to go into our particle replicator and just bring it in, just zoom it in a little bit, and then just lower it a smidge. Maybe shift it, just kind of frame it up the way that we want to. That's looking pretty cool. I might want to just rotate the X value just a little bit, just to give it a little bit of parallax there, and then just bring that. Actually, that's pretty cool. We're going to do it like that. Okay, sweet. Now that we have that set, we're going to do a couple things in the render settings. We're going to go ahead and just play around with the lighting. We're not going to use comp lights. We're just going to set the lighting to dramatic, so that it just has a little bit more drama. We might be able to sort of tweak the lights and the rotation over here and just kind of find a style that we like. Yeah, I kind of like that. We're going to make sure that shadows are enabled. We're going to go ahead into the into the ambient occlusion, just to make sure we enable ambient occlusion, and the fog as well, just to give it a little bit less reflection. And then lastly, we're going to do the same thing that we've been doing with all the other effects. We're going to go into we're going to go into effect. We're going to go into color correction, lumetri color, and we're going to go ahead and desaturate that, and then just, you know, up the contrast a little bit. And now we have this sort of cool environment that sort of matches our scene. Oh, we got to make sure that our lightning is actually behind the scene there. And now we have this really cool sort of composition that, you know, matches a Sin City style Sith Lord effect. That's our video, guys. Thank you so much for watching. Go ahead and hit a like and subscribe on the channel. It does go a long way to helping me out to be able to create more videos like this for you guys. And at the same time, let's make sure you guys are forging that creative future, and I will see you guys on the next one. Thank you and take care.